Alright, next up we're going to deal with this idea of breaking our target range into separate rooms where the player needs to shoot down all the targets in a given room before a door will open to the next one, and we're going to need a blueprint to look after all that. To begin with, what I want to do is take the existing stuff that we've built, just control click to select all of it. So the targets in these two walls, and I'm just going to slide these over this way against this side wall here, just to make the first little area easier to build. Let's move that target in. Just get that to not be embedded into the wall like that. Slide this one across, and that should be fine. Now what we need is this new target room blueprint. It needs to be a blueprint that can work out which targets are inside its area. Because don't forget, we could have multiples of, loads of different target areas all the way around the map. And it needs to work out when does the player enter the area so it can pop up the targets. Okay, so right click, new blueprint. We're inheriting from actor, and we'll call this BP_target room. This just needs one component, and it's going to be a box collision. Size doesn't really matter too much at the moment. Well, it does, but we're going to sort that out in the editor, in the main editor window, not here. So save that. Drag a BP target room in, and notice if we scale this now, we're basically scaling that box along with the actor. Make this the right size so that it basically covers all those targets. There we go. That's fine. It doesn't need to be exact. So what's going to happen is we're going to say when play starts on begin play, this box should work out which targets are inside it, in which case it'll be these ones here, store them in a list, pop them up when the player walks into this area, and keep track of when all these targets have been shot down so that the player can move on to the next area. One problem we have though by default is if you look, this invisible box will actually block the player's shots. They'll just bounce right off it, and that's not quite what we want, is it? So we're back into target room, select the box component, scroll down in this details panel, see it's got collision presets, overlap all dynamic. If you change that to custom, you can come and tell it to ignore projectiles. I'm not sure why it blocks projectiles by default. I think it's unintentional, but I'm not sure. But anyway, that's how you fix it. Now we can shoot straight through the box. Okay, so first things first, in the event graph at least, delete the begin overlap and the tick. Actually, we need tick. Delete actor begin overlap. What we want to do here is, like I said, when play begins, take our box component and get all the actors that are overlapping it, which you do with the simple get overlapping actors. This works a lot like get all actors of class in the last step, if you remember, where we could say get all of our target base and return an array of them, a list of them basically. Same idea here, just that this returns an array of actor, not of BP target base, but it will contain all the actors that either are BP target base or that inherit from it, which is what we want. And this time we want to store these in a variable. So we can drag away from the overlapping actors, click promote to variable, that will create a new variable and prompt us to rename it, and we'll call that something like targets in room. And just check that that's worked. What we can do just to verify this is on the tick function, we're not going to leave it like this, we'll change it back in a bit. We'll grab the targets in room array, ask for the length of that array, basically the number of targets in the list is the length of the array, and do a print string. So we'll go print string, and what we want to print is that length. And what will happen at the moment is, well, we'll see. Hit play, and it's printing 8 over and over and over. Reason being, hopefully, there are 8 targets in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, first of all, a few things about this. Let's move the player start over. So I'll get this floating movie camera thing that is the player and move it so that they start just outside that area. Let's say there. And the other thing is, I'm not quite sure why it does this again. I think it may be a bug, it may not be. If I make an extra target, like say duplicate this one, there are now 9 targets inside the area, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But for some reason, it still just says 8 there until I go in here, hit compile, and then it seems to... No, it says 9. I'm not sure why that is. It never used to be that way in versions prior to 4.24 of Unreal. It could be a bug, it could be something I'm doing, I'm not sure, but just be aware of that. If you do add more targets and you don't see it update straight away, you may just need to come in here and hit compile. Again, I could be missing something. Alright, so tick, we'll delete all this because we just wanted to test that, and I just wanted to point out that little issue to you. What we actually want is to detect when the player walks into the box. Now we've done something similar to this before, haven't we? If we go back to our target base blueprint, you remember here we did right at the start, when something hits this target component, check to see whether it was a first person projectile, then do something. We're going to do something very similar in our target room. It's going to be when something overlaps this box, so select the box component, scroll down, find on component begin overlap and hit that. And we'll just move this tick out of the way for a second. And then again we can use a cast to check was the other actor that overlapped the box a cast to first person character, which will work. The cast will succeed and this will run if what overlapped the box was either a first person character or something that inherits from first person character, and it will fail if it was anything else. If it was a first person character, we want to reveal all of our targets, don't we? So we get our targets in room array. We do a for each on the array. So this is very similar to what we did in the level blueprint. But this time, remember I said this is an array of actors, not an array of BP target base. And actors do not have that reveal target function, and so that event, so it won't show up here for us to call. What we will need to do is take the array element and do a cast to BP target base. And then again, similar logic. For each of the things in this array, if they are either BP target base or something that inherits from them, cast will work. If not, cast will fail. Now we know that they are all going to succeed because that list is literally defined as all of the target bases in this area. So what we'll do from here, now we've got a BP target base we can call reveal target, and there we go. Let's test that out. Now here we are, targets aren't revealed, player enters the area, targets are revealed, and then we can carry on. See. But there could be a little bug there that you may not have realised. What happens if I shoot these first, then walk into the area? The remaining targets pop up, great, so what? Notice when I exit, there's these errors coming up. Error attempting to access, and it's these spinning targets. Okay, so what's happened here? Well, in our target room, look what we're doing. Well, actually, think of the order of events. What actually happens here? Play starts, get our box, get all the overlapping targets and store them in this list, this array, okay? Then I shot the 2 spinning targets and destroyed them, which would have removed them from the game. You remember, when a target runs all this, do hit, the last thing that happens is destroy actor. So those spinning actors, the spinning targets would have both been destroyed and removed from the game. Then I walked into the box. We established I was a first person character and we said go to every element in that array, cast it to a target base. Here's the problem. It will work for the targets that still exist, but when you try to cast an object which has already been destroyed and removed from the game, it will generate an error, and that's what those errors are. So before we do this, we want an extra little node in here, in the loop body, called an isValid. If you see more than one version of isValid, it's this one with the question mark icon in front of it. What we're going to do with this is just check, is the array element actually valid before you try casting it? If it is valid, which means the target still exists in the world, hasn't been destroyed, this will work. If it's not valid, the target has already been destroyed, is not valid will run, and we just don't wire anything up to that so nothing happens. And we can take advantage of this to check when all the targets have been destroyed if you think about it. by writing a simple little algorithm in our tick. Let's sort this out now before we go testing it again. I mean, those errors will have gone, trust me. What we want to do here is, in event tick, let's make it, well, we'll add a new variable to the blueprint first called all targets destroyed ? And then when we run event tick, we will set that to true. This might seem a bit strange. So every frame, we're starting off by assuming all the targets have been destroyed. Then what we do, grab our targets in room array, do a for each on it again. So we're going to go to every element in that array and do something. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask that is valid. So loop body, again, is valid. There we are. If any of these targets is valid, we're going to set all targets destroyed to false. Okay, and then when the loop finishes, we're going to have a branch, so B click for branch, and we're going to check the value of all targets destroyed. Now think what can happen here. If all the targets have been destroyed, they will all now be invalid, and so they will have been basically destroyed, and then every single one of them will return an is not valid here. And then by the time we get to the end of this loop, all targets destroyed will still be true. However, if even one target is still valid, when the loop gets to it, it will trip this and set all targets destroyed back to false again, and so this will run. So basically, this true branch will run if and only if all the targets are invalid, i.e. they've been destroyed. And we'll just put a little print string in here to test that. So we'll go print string, and then instead of hello, it can say all targets destroyed, a few exclamation marks. And what that will do, you'll see there's another little change we need to make. You might not have spotted what it is yet, but let's go and have a look. Okay, so what have I wired up backwards then? Oh, I haven't wired that into there, so my mistake. Yeah, wire array element into the input object on here, otherwise you'll get the error that I just got. Never mind, let's try that again, shall we? There we go, so no, it's fine. We walk forwards, targets pop up, we shoot them down, and then when the last one goes, they should all be invalid, and then we start to get this great big, and this is what I did mean when I said we need to do something else. See how that all targets destroyed is coming up over and over again because it's being printed on every single tick. So every tick now, we are getting through to here and printing this. What we should do, after we've printed it once, we'll do a set actor tick enabled and leave that unticked. Now this wants two inputs, a target, which in this case is self if we don't wire anything in, and whether tick is enabled or disabled. If tick is disabled, it basically shuts down this tick function so it won't run again. So the first it's going to keep checking. Then the first time it gets this far, it's going to switch off its own tick function so it won't keep doing it. Let's see. And there, we get the message just once. Okay, so just looking at the clock, this video is coming up to about the quarter of an hour mark, so we'll leave it there. And in the next part, we'll put like a little door here, which when all the targets have been destroyed, it leads through to the next day. In fact, the next one's probably going to be the last video in the series, because all we need to do is show you how to add multiple areas with doors in between them, and maybe a blueprint to time how long the player takes to go through the entire course, and then that's really it. So I'll see you next time.